Magandang araw. Samahan niyo ako sa pagtalakay ng Anatomy 101 ng skeletal system para sa mga RadTech. Ang ating tatalakayin ngayong araw ay ang upper extremities. So, simulan natin. The hand is composed of 27 bones. So, it includes 14 phalanges. So, these 14 phalanges are the bones of the digits. So, although they are seemingly short, so maiiksi lang po ito, maliliit na mga buto, but they are considered long bones because they have two articular ends and a body or shaft. Another components of your hand is the 5 metacarpals. No? So, metacarpals are the bones of the palm. And also 8 carpal bones. Carpal bones are the bones of the wrist. So, the hand in radiography, all these 27 bones must be included. Moreover, it also includes the distal radius and the distal ulna. So, it also includes the distal radius and the distal ulna. Okay. So, the digits are described by number. It is the more correct practice. So, the first digit, also known as the pollex or the thumb. So, the thumb is considered to be the most important digit. Another one is the second digit or the index finger. The middle finger or the third digit, the ring finger or the fourth digit, and the small finger or the fifth digit. The first digit is composed of the distal phalanx and the proximal phalanx. The distal phalanx and the proximal phalanx, between them is the interphalangeal joint. While the second up to the fifth digit have the distal phalanges, the middle phalanges, and the proximal phalanges. So, sa pagitan ng distal phalanx at middle phalanx ng bawat isa sa mga ito, meron tayong tinatawag na distal interphalangeal joint or DIPJ. So, this one is the second distal interphalangeal joint, the third distal interphalangeal joint, fourth, and fifth distal interphalangeal joint. Between the middle and proximal phalanx or phalanges is the proximal interphalangeal joint. So, ang mga proximal interphalangeal joint ay mga ito, second, the third, fourth, fifth proximal interphalangeal joints. The proximal phalanx is closest to the palm, while the distal phalanx is farthest from the palm. It has a characteristic spatula-like appearance, which is small and flattened, with a roughened rim around their distal anterior end. So, tandaan natin na yun ang characteristic shape ng distal phalanx natin or phalanges natin. Spatula-like appearance or shape. Sunod, we have the metacarpals. The 5 metacarpals are also numbered as first metacarpal, second, third metacarpal, fourth metacarpal, and the fifth metacarpal. So the shape of the metacarpals are cylindric. So it looks like, or they look like cylinders, no? And slightly concave anteriorly. So they are slightly concave anteriorly. The metacarpals are also long bones. It has also a body and 2 articular ends. The metacarpal heads are the distal ends of the metacarpals. So, posteriorly, kapag ka naka-close fist tayo, yung knuckles natin, yan yung head ng metacarpals. So, proximally, the metacarpals have their bases, no? So, the proximal end of the metacarpals are the metacarpal base. So, let's move on sa wrist. The wrist have 8 bones. So, we have 8 carpal bones. So, the carpal bones are short bones, largely cancellous cancellous with an outer layer of compact bone. So, cancellous bone ang ating wrist bones or carpal bones. So, let's talk about the wrist bones starting with the proximal row. So, dalawang row kasi yan. The proximal and the distal row. Tig-a-apat. Let's start from the lateral side. Of course, if you talk about the lateral side, we are talking about the side where the first digit is located or situated. So, the first digit, proximal row, manggagaling dito sa distal radius ulna. So, ito yung mga yon. So, distal row natin, ito yung mga yon. So, start natin, proximal row, starting with the scaphoid. So, itong carpal bone na yan, yan yung scaphoid. The scaphoid or the navicular bone is the largest proximal carpal bone. So, yan yung pinakamalaki sa proximal row. It is the most commonly fractured carpal bone as well. So, the scaphoid has a characteristic boat shape. Next is the lunate. The lunate or semilunar articulates with the radius. It is crescent shape. It has a crescent shape or half moon shape. Kaya siya tinawag na lunate, no? Comes from the word lunar or moon. Next is we have the triquetrum. The triquetrum or triquetral, cuneiform or triangular bone. So, yung triquetrum natin is pyramidal in shape. So, parang pyramid siya. While the last one is P-shape, also known as your pisiform. The pisiform or os pisiformi has a characteristic P-shape. So, the distal row naman tayo. So, the distal row is starting from the, again, from the radial side, from the first digit. No? So, what articulates with the first metacarpal is the trapezium. Okay? So, kapag ka nag-position ng subject na tayo, trapezium, we should know that the trapezium articulates with the first metacarpal. So, the trapezium is also the greater multangular. So, this carpal bone is four-sided. So, it resembles a table. No? So, parang table siya. So, the second carpal bone from the distal row is of course, the lesser multangular. So, katabi ni greater multangular, yung lesser multangular natin. So, that is your trapezoid. So, the trapezoid having the last letters OID it literally means it resembles trapezium or like the trapezium. So, the next one is the os magnum of the carpals. So, that is your capitate. So, the capitate or os capitatum is the largest and most centrally located carpal bone. So, comes from the word caput or head. And the last but not the least is the hamate. The hamate has hook which is known as the hook of hamate. So, isa siyang wedge, no? So, the hamate is also known as your unciform. So, it is nice to know that the anatomic snuff box is a triangular depression located on the posterior surface of the wrist. No? Triangular depression located on the posterior surface of the wrist and is visible when the thumb is abducted and extended. Ngayon, kapag may masakit dito, tenderness in this area is a clinical sign suggesting fracture of the scaphoid bone. Remember, scaphoid is the most commonly fractured carpal bone. So, the carpal sulcus is also nice to know for us, no? So, the carpal sulcus is an located anterior or palmar surface of the wrist. It is concave from side to side. So, the flexor retinaculum is a strong fibrous band attached medially to the pisiform and hook of hamate and laterally to the tubercles of the scaphoid and trapezium. The carpal tunnel is a passageway between the carpal sulcus and the flexor retinaculum. The median nerve and the flexor tendons pass through the carpal canal. So the carpal canal, take note, is located anterior to the wrist. So the carpal tunnel syndrome is a compression of the median nerve. So, point of emphasis lang, ito nasa anterior ng ating wrist. So moving on, let's talk about your forearm. So the forearm has two bones, no? So the radius is a long bone located lateral, no? Lateral between the two. So while the ulna is also a long bone and it is medial when you compare the two, no? So the medial forearm bone is the ulna. The lateral forearm bone is the radius. So, pagka sinundan natin yung laterality, which one is lateral, which one is medial, so alam natin. So, the ulna is a long, slender, and tapers inferiorly. So, ulna, mahabang buto, it is a long bone, it tapers inferiorly. So, inferiorly or distally, manipis na lang siya kumpara sa proximal end ng ulna. It has two beak-like processes and a concave depressions. So, dalawa yung concave depression din ni ulna. The olecranon process forms the proximal portion of the trochlear notch. So, ito siya. While the coronoid process forms the lower portion of the trochlear notch. No? So, nandyan. The radial notch is a depression located lateral to the coronoid process. Take note that the radial notch, although it is called radial, it is a notch possessed by the ulna. So, naka-ulna siya. So, dyan siya located. The head of ulna is located distally. So, it is at the distal end. It is a rounded process on its lateral side. So, it is located here. While the styloid process is a narrower conic projection on the posteromedial side. So, ayun siya. The trochlear notch of ulna is located between, or it is seemingly aligned between the olecranon process and the coronoid process. The body of ulna covers the greater length of the ulna. Let's talk about your radius. The radius has head. It is located proximally. So, tatandaan, si ulna, yung head niya ay nandito sa distal. While your radius, the head of radius is located proximally. It is small and presents a flat disc-like surface. So, nandyan siya. So, the radius also has a neck. The neck of radius is constricted area below the head. The radial tuberosity is inferior to the neck on the medial side of the body of radius. So, nandyan located yung ating radial tuberosity, no? So, ito yun. Next is, we have the styloid process. So, the styloid process of radius is located at the distal end. It is broad, flattened, and has a conic projection on its lateral surface. So, ang styloid process ng radius, just like the ulna, is also located distally. So, the body of radius also covers the majority of the length of the radius. So, this time, let's talk about humerus. Your humerus is the bone of our arm. Humerus has what we call humeral condyle. So, it is the term for the distal end of the humerus. It is broad and flattened and has numerous processes and depressions. So, yan ang coverage niya. So, it has two smooth elevations. The trochlea, which is located at the medial side. So, nandyan siya. While the capitulum is also located at the lateral side. The medial and lateral epicondyles of the humerus is located superior to the condyle and can be easily palpated during examination. So, nandyan siya, the medial and also the lateral epicondyles. The coronoid fossa is a shallow depression on the anterior surface superior to the trochlea. So, it is located here. It receives the coronoid process when the elbow is flexed. So, this area is your trochlea. This is the coronoid fossa. So, that one is also the trochlea posteriorly. The radial fossa receives the radial head when the elbow is flexed. So, the radial fossa is located in this particular area. So it is located lateral to the coronoid fossa and proximal to the capitulum. So where is the capitulum? Nandyan siya. While the olecranon fossa is deep depression found immediately behind the coronoid fossa on the posterior surface. So dito natin siya makikita sa posterior surface. Yan. It accommodates the olecranon process when the elbow is extended. So summarizing the three fossa of the distal humerus, let's put it in this way, no? So the coronoid fossa and the radial fossa are located at the anterior humerus. So it is, or they are located at the anterior of humerus. So the coronoid fossa receives the coronoid process. Therefore, it should be, or the elbow should be flexed. When the radial fossa receives the radial head of the elbow, since it is located anteriorly, it must also be flexed. The olecranon fossa is at the posterior surface of the humerus. So it receives the olecranon process when the elbow is extended. So tatandaan, anterior, it should be flexed, the elbow should be flexed. Posterior, the elbow should be extended. So if the fossa is located anteriorly, the elbow must be flexed. Posteriorly, as it receives part of the ulna, it must be extended. So the humerus articulates with the shoulder girdle. The head of the humerus is a large, smooth, rounded, and lies on the oblique plane on the superomedial side. So this one is the head of the humerus. The anatomic neck is located just below the head. So tatandaan natin sa mga bones, sa mga buto natin, kung nasaan yung head, it is usual na it is followed by the neck. So parang sa tao lang yan, no? So kapag nasaan yung head, nandun yung neck. Just below the head. So just below the head is a narrow constricted structure lying on the same oblique plane. Whereas the surgical neck of the humerus is a constriction just below, no? Constriction of the body just below the tubercles, the greater and lesser tubercles. It is the site of many fractures. So nasaan siya? Nandito siya. So it must be below the tubercles. So let's talk about the tubercles. The lesser tubercle of the humerus is situated on the anterior surface. So tatandaan, it is located on the anterior surface immediately below the anatomic neck. It is the insertion site for tendon of subscapularis muscle. So it is located here. Tatandaan, ito yung humerus na nakaharap sa atin. Ito yung humerus na nakatalikod sa atin. So wala siya dito. Nandito siya. Okay. Moving on, the greater tubercle is on the lateral surface just below the anatomic neck. So lateral surface. So kung nandito yung mga medial surfaces ng ating humerus, so nandito sa side na to yung lateral surface. So it is more likely here. So nandyan yung ating greater tubercle. So between the greater and lesser tubercles is the intertubercular groove or the bicipital groove. The bicipital groove separates the lesser and greater tubercle in a seemingly oblique and longitudinal pattern. So nandyan siya. So the greater tubercle presents a superior surface. So itong slope down na to, nag-i-slope siya ng 25 degrees. So it is approximately 25 degrees angle, while it also presents 3 flattened impressions. So the impressions are the anterior, middle, and posterior impressions. The highest impression of the greater tubercle serves as attachment for the tendon of supraspinatus muscle, while the middle impression serves as insertion of the infraspinatus muscle, and the posterior impression serves as insertion of the tendon of the upper fibers of teres minor muscle. So the body of humerus is where the lower fibers of the teres minor muscle inserts into, and immediately below the posterior impression. So the body of humerus are located here. So it occupies the most of the length of the humerus. So this time, let's talk about the articulations of the upper extremities. So the upper extremities have the following articulations. We have the interphalangeal articulations or joints. So pag sinabi nating articulations, we also mean joints. So parehas lang po yun. So IP joints are between the phalanges. So we have these joints are synovial hinge type, and they allow only flexion and extension. So we have the proximal interphalangeal joints. So ito siya. It is demarcated by the yellow lines, irregular lines, no? Yan. While the distal interphalangeal joints are demarcated by the red irregular lines. And the interphalangeal joint, since the first digit, we have only the distal and proximal phalanges. So, yung first digit lang ang merong tinatawag na interphalangeal joint. Okay? So, wala siyang distal at saka proximal interphalangeal joint, kundi interphalangeal joint lamang. The metacarpophalangeal joints or articulations are located between the distal metacarpals and proximal phalanges. So they are synovial ellipsoidal joints. So movements ng MCP natin is extension, flexion, abduction, adduction, and circumduction. Since the thumb has less convex and wider surface of the MCP joint, it has only limited abduction and adduction, no? So movement, no? Limited yung abduction and adduction movement lang niya. So we have the first MCP, the second, the third, fourth, and the fifth MCP joints. Let's talk about the CMC or the carpo-metacarpal articulations. These are between carpals and the proximal metacarpals. Between the first metacarpal and the trapezium is a synovial saddle joint. No? So tatandaan, siya lang yung may saddle joint na tinatawag between the first metacarpophalangeal joint. First carpo-metacarpal joints rather, or CMC joint. So it is located here. So nandito siya, no? It is demarcated by the blue line. Between the second, third, fourth, and fifth metacarpals and the trapezoid, capitate, and hamate are synovial gliding joints. So ito siya. The intercarpal articulations are synovial gliding joints. They are located between the lunate and between the lunate and the scaphoid are also gliding joints. So they are located here. So ito yung mga yun, no? So while the radiocarpal articulations are synovial ellipsoidal type, and by the articulations of the scaphoid, lunate, and triquetrum with the radius and the articular disc just distal to the ulna. The radiocarpal articulation is most likely located here. The distal radioulnar articulations, or articulation rather, is located distally between the radius and ulna. So it is a synovial pivot joint, okay, between the ulna and the ulnar notch of radius. So the proximal radioulnar articulations or articulation is located proximally between the radius and ulna. So the synovial pivot, it is also a synovial pivot joint. So parehas silang pivot joint. So yung crossing between the radius and ulna during pronation of the hand is a combination of action between the distal and proximal radioulnar articulations. So between the head of the radius, so it is here, head of the radius, and the radial notch of ulna is the proximal radioulnar articulation. So take note, sinabi ko kanina, the supination and pronation combined, are combined rotary action between the two ulnar joints. So yung crossing during pronation ng hand, crossing of the radius and ulna is a combination of those actions. So pronation, radius turns medially and crosses over the ulna. So nagcro-cross yung dalawa, hindi sila parallel na ganito. So nagcro-cross yung dalawa during pronation of the hand. So the radius and ulna crosses, or the radius rather, crosses over the ulna. So the upper third of the ulna makes a slight counter rotation that rotates the humerus medially. So the humerus is also rotated medially during pronation of the hand. So let's talk about the elbow joint. The elbow joint is a conglomeration or a combination of three joints that are enclosed in a common capsule. So we have the proximal radioulnar joint. So napag-usapan na natin yan kanina. Dito siya. We also have the humero-ulnar joint, which is between the trochlea of the humerus and the trochlear notch of ulna. It is a synovial hinge joint and allows flexion and extension only. So that one is the trochlea of humerus, while that one is the coronoid process of ulna. So the humero-ulnar joint is approximately located there. The humero-radial joint is between the humerus and the radius. So the capitulum of the humerus and the flattened head of the radius. So that one is the capitulum, and this is the radial head. So the humero-radial joint is located here, no? Dito sa black irregular line. So this joint is a synovial hinge joint. So pagka hinge joint, it only allows flexion and extension. Now let's talk about the elbow fat pads. So the elbow fat pad is comprised of the posterior fat pad, which is the largest, or covers the largest area because it lies within the olecranon fossa of the posterior humerus. So it is located posterior of the humerus. So for demonstration purposes, for illustration purposes, it was drawn like this. But it is actually hidden posterior to the humerus. The anterior fat pad is a combination of superimposed coronoid and radial fat pads. No? It lies in the coronoid and radial fossae of the anterior humerus. So it lies anterior to the humerus. So take note that its shape resembles teardrop, while the supinator fat pad is anterior to and parallel with the anterior aspect of the proximal radius. So it is located here. So parallel to the anterior aspect of the proximal radius. So the three areas of fat visualize only on lateral projection of the elbow. So pag nag-e-x-ray ng elbow, lateral projection natin siya nakikita or nakikita ng mga radiologists natin. The elbow in lateral projection requires a 90-degree flexion of the joint. No? So just like what is being illustrated. Radiographically, only the anterior fat pad, which resembles teardrop, and the supinator fat pad which looks like parallel to the radius are visible. So yung anterior fat pad and the supinator fat pads are visible radiographically. The posterior fat pad is depressed within the olecranon fossa. So nakatago siya sa buto. So on a radiograph, hindi natin siya nakikita. So the significance of these fat pads radiographically is in cases of elbow injury. So if these fat pads that looks like density on the radiograph is displaced or altered in shape, so radiologists would suspect effusion or joint effusion. So kapag nagkakaroon ng abnormal accumulation ng fluid sa mga sa elbow joint natin, nagkakaroon ng displacement or changes in the shape of these fat pads. So those changes occurs during elbow injury. The visualization of the posterior fat pad, which is radiographically invisible, hindi nakikita, is a reliable indicator of elbow pathology. So, yung hindi nakikita, nakatago na posterior fat pad, ay biglang nakita sa radiograph, ibig sabihin merong elbow pathology. So, they suspect effusion or other pathologies. No? So, exposure factor to demonstrate the soft tissues on a lateral elbow projection is key to this evaluation. So, importante ang role ni Radtech dito sa bagay na ito. So, tatandaan, naway matuto kayo araw-araw. Thank you.